Hi everyone. In this video, we are going to look at some of the different modes of discussion that you can use in online learning environments and kind of the ways in which you can apply these in different situations. I'm going to say a little disclaimer here that this is in no way a comprehensive overview of all the modes of discussion in online learning environments. These are just some of the common modes of discussions that we use with GOA professional development as well as GOA student courses. And I look forward to hearing from some of you on some of the different types of modes of discussions that you've used in online learning environments. The first mode of discussion we're going to talk about is video conferencing. Video conferencing occurs on platforms such as Skype, Google Hangout, Uvu. There are just many varieties of video conferencing. One of the things that's nice about video conferencing is the fact that it builds connections among your participants. So when you're working in an online space, it can be a really lonely place, especially when there's asynchronous stuff going on. And Skype and video conferencing is that chance for the participants to connect in real time, so it's really nice. However, there are some pitfalls or barriers or potential situations where you wouldn't want to use video conferencing, and that is really when you're thinking about this deep synthesis of ideas, because this real-time conferencing in online spaces or in brick-and-mortar classrooms gives the participants less time to think deeply, so they're kind of thinking on the fly. If you do decide to use video conferencing, some of the best practices that we recommend are that you do not spring questions on your participants, that you provide them in advance. Hopefully you saw us modeling this in your previous Skype discussion, and that you kind of ease into the Skype conversations. You start with a type of icebreaker, and you don't ask the really tough questions or the questions that might cause people to be a little bit uncomfortable until you get farther into the conversation with video conferencing. So that is one of the modes of discussion. Another mode of discussion that you often see in online learning environments are threaded discussions. And if you're using a learning management system, they usually come with their own type of threaded discussion. What this simply means is this is a discussion, just like you have seen in this course, where there's a question posed and then people have the opportunity to reply, and you can scroll down and reply and scroll down and reply. One of the potential issues with a threaded discussion you're kind of seeing right here, and that is that you have to keep scrolling and reading and scrolling and reading. So if you are facilitating a threaded discussion, it's always really good practice to remember that you should also be reading through all the comments and then trying to summarize the discussion as you go along. There's another type of threaded discussion in the Canvas LMS that you've also seen, and that is where you can do video as well as reply in writing. And that was like our first discussion, making connections. So again, a threaded discussion is just one where the replies are ongoing and it's kind of open and you can answer questions back and forth. And that, one of the potential things you want to watch out for is that these get messy. So as you're facilitating them, it's a good idea for you to facilitate by summarizing things. A third type of online discussion is a Google Doc. One of the nice things about Google Docs is that they're shareable. So once you create something in Google Doc, you can share it with some collaborators, and that then you can get feedback in asynchronous time, so you don't necessarily all have to be in the same place at the same time. So as you can see, here is a GOA document that we were working on a potential presentation we wanted to do, and you can see that the document was shared with the team, and you'll see comments going down the side, and that we kind of got to talk back and forth about what we thought of the presentation before we actually put the proposal in. So this has multiple uses, and again, Google Docs are great because they're shareable and they allow you to collaborate outside of a shared space. Another tool that we like to use for online discussions at Global Online Academy is called Flipgrid. Flipgrid does cost money, but it's relatively inexpensive for an educational account. This is a video discussion where you get to see all the participants in this grid format once they have responded, And what I like about Flipgrid and using it with professional development is it's only 90 seconds. So when you have a class of 18 people and you kind of keep them to 90 seconds or less, the videos tend to be easily digestible by the class, and it really helps the class get a sense of that whole FaceTime piece, which I talked to some of you guys about as we were in our discussions, our synchronous discussions, about how in online learning environments, this FaceTime, just seeing somebody's face, makes a big difference even when it's asynchronous. So this discussion was, please introduce yourself to the class by sharing your name and an artifact that could represent something about your location. So let's look at, I'm going to go ahead and click on the instructor because I don't want to embarrass any past participants, and I'll show you what it looks like.
Hi, so my name's Jen Ewell and I'm your instructor, and my artifacts, my goggles and my towel and my pool noodle here are representing Michigan. And did you know that Michigan has the longest freshwater shoreline in the world? And we have more than 11,000 inland lakes and more than 36,000 miles of streams.
So that's what Flipgrid looks like, and it's a great tool for many different types of discussions, whether it's a community building one or perhaps in a student course. Sometimes I've seen them used as a type of assessment. In our graphic design course, students had to do pitches for their graphic design in 90 seconds or less, answering very succinct questions. So Flipgrid is one of our favorites because it allows you to see everybody's faces once the responses, and it's quick responses, so it's easy to make it through the discussion. So another type of discussion that kind of happens in real time happens on Twitter. So you can sign up for, you don't actually sign up for, you can just log into your Twitter account, and there are different groups that host different chats or different forums every week. So right now, number PBL chat, so hashtag PBL chat, is going on in real time. And you can see these participants have logged in and they're talking back and forth using the hashtag number PBL chat, and they're sharing resources. So what you usually have, I've participated in this chat quite a bit actually, and what you usually have is you'll have somebody moderating it. They'll throw out a question and then everybody just kind of jumps on it and starts answering the question and going back and forth. And it's in real time, and they last for anywhere from 30 minutes to an hour. And I'm hoping to see a new response pop up here, but I don't see one yet. So there's kind of a pause in the chat. But that's another type of online discussion, and you can do that with your class. You can create a hashtag for your class, and they can get on Twitter, and anytime they're doing something or if there's a discussion, they can go ahead and chat back and forth using Twitter, which is a really fun thing. And if anybody wants to search your class or see what's going on, they can also use that hashtag and find your class. The last mode of discussion that I'm going to share with you in online spaces is called a closed Facebook group. Many of us know that we can use Facebook groups or that we can use Facebook for social reasons, and we might be able to like pages, and we might have even joined some groups. But a lot of people don't realize that you can actually create a closed group within Facebook. So if you have a class and you want the kids to be able to do things on Facebook, but you don't want to necessarily friend them and you don't want to see what's going on their pages, you can still create a closed Facebook group and invite them in, and they can have discussions in this space and post resources, very similar to Google+. And the example here is one of my closed groups, and it is from the Center for Whale Research, and it's a bunch of us that love orcas. I have a whole, I'm a huge orca geek when it comes to whales in the wild, and I love to go whale watching. So of course I would be a member of this group. It also has biologists and all sorts of those of us that are very passionate about whales. So that's my closed Facebook group. So you can create that same thing for a professional development class, or you can create it for a student course. But it's really a nice thing to create because oftentimes people already have Facebook accounts, and it's a really easy way for your community to interact and connect with one another. So that's it. Those are a bunch of modes of online discussions that you can consider using in your own professional work. Really what online discussions come down to for me and those of us working at GOA is that thinking about ways to have participants and students interact meaningfully, and using a tool that is manageable for the facilitator or the teacher. So when you're thinking about using an online mode of discussion, really think to yourself about how is this going to connect my participants in meaningful and relevant ways, as well as how am I going to manage this, and is it a manageable tool that kind of matches the situation that I'm creating.